Hello, welcome back everyone, and sorry for some disruption in the broadcast. Yeah, everything's frozen for a bit, so I had to restart the stream, and hopefully it doesn't kill our enjoyment toward the games because, especially on the first board here, Yu versus Abdusattorov, it has become more interesting move by move, and I think we see the position after rook g7, king f1, and queen e8, and here Yu had a long thing, and he decided to take the pawn on e5, and this is actually the best move that the computer suggested before. We analyzed it some minutes before the break, and here queen g6 was also the best continuation, followed by king e2. So I believe in this position the computer suggested e takes d6, and then knight here, takes here, and then no, it's not like this, is it? Oh yeah, it's actually like this, and then takes this one first, yeah, like this, and takes, and like this, takes, and then king d2. So Yu played a different variation. He played king e2, but I think, is it for the better or for the worse? Wow, king e2 is actually also the best move here. So king e2 and knight ce5 should be the continuation. Yeah, knight ce5, and if this happens, then let's continue with knight takes knight fe5, and then de5, and after f3 looks like white's king is going to be quite safe. Knight takes e3, knight takes e3, and then bishop c5. Okay, and then in this position you play queen c6, because in order to take this one you have to take this one first. What happened after this? Takes, and then give a check first. King d3, that's it. And I guess after rook d8, king c4. Yeah, king c4 in white is better. Somehow the king escapes, and it is even in a safe position right now. So king e2 is still on the board. Apart from knight c takes e5, what else can we suggest in this position as black? What if... Yeah, the thing is, if we take this one, then knight takes, and everything is protected. So black doesn't want this to happen, of course. And this knight is under attack as well. So now if this one, then queen takes c6. Now the king is actually safe. So yeah, king e2 is such a nice move. A good defense by Yu. Yeah, because after this it looks like white will be able to escape with the king, transferring the king to the other side of the board. Okay. While Abdusattorov is still thinking, let's also check the other board by Grishchuk versus Parham, because looks like Grishchuk is increasing his advantage, and wow, he found all these tactics. So after knight e5 he played knight f5, and knight takes c4, knight takes c4, bishop takes c4, and bishop f1. Yeah, this is what the computer suggested too before. And here Parham played queen c7. So queen c7, and for some reason the best move in this position is back to g2 again, bishop g2. But queen a1 is also, I think it's more human to play, because you just want to grab this, grab everything, and oh, actually after this there might be also an idea to take c4 all together. Like for example in this position, if takes here, you take, and then you can actually take something like this if you just want to get like this position. And this should be still slightly better for white, although yeah, with so many pieces traded, black has good chance to simplify or equalize the position. So here queen takes, what the computer suggested. So if bishop takes here, and then I think black should be able to hold this position. And but queen c7 is still on the board, so I'm leaning toward queen a1 actually. I think queen a1 is the best approach in this position. It's more human, and also it is very easy to understand why queen a1 is a good move. I don't think bishop g2 would be played, even though this is also one of the best moves in the position. Yeah, just because after queen d8, then what's gonna happen? You play bishop f1 again, it doesn't really make sense. Eventually you'll have to play queen a1 too. So we'll see until Grischuk makes his decision. And meanwhile, on the game between Rapport versus Fitted, after knight f6 here, yeah, he played queen g5 and a5, and then after this knight e3, he's losing his advantage actually. After a4, bishop c4, yeah, I like this idea. c6 with the idea also rook a5, because the queen looks pretty loose there. And the idea is also because after c6 you cannot take g6 because of d5, and now you're attacking this bishop and also the queen at the same time. Although the queen g5 looks very attractive because it's attacking g6 anyway, but yeah, c6 is just the prompt response that black needs to consolidate everything. Okay, so Richard might be regretting his decision then. Yeah, we'll see if Fidit is going to come up with c6, because when he calculates everything, he would find that queen g6 is not a threat. He's reaching something on the I think it's d5. Oh, is it c6? It looks more to the center, but d5 is such a bad move, so it should be c6. Yeah, c6. He found the best move. Now I think the knight has to move, because black's idea is to play rook a5 and the queen can only go to f4 or h4, in which scenario there's always g5 attacking the queen, so the queen can be trapped actually. So now maybe if the knight moves, then white is going to waste a few tempi by having this position. Let's say the knight moves here. Not only that there is rook a5, but also black can think of d5 as well. Yeah, eventually this pair of bishops might prevail. So that's not good news for Richard then. I see that Abdusattorov already played. What did he do? Oh, he took. So after king e2, he took the pawn on e5 with the knight like this. And now Yang is thinking, yeah, now both players are down to... Actually, Abdusattorov still has some lead on the time situation with 32 minutes, while Yang is down to 20 minutes. The position is not easy, of course, for both sides, but I think it's still more comfortable for Abdusattorov because he is the one that is attacking. Okay, so yeah, in this position, Yoyi is still thinking. Let's quickly check the game between Grischuk and Parham before we move on to the challenges section. Oh, this has happened. I don't really like it. No, I don't really like it because this continuation, although it is very tempting to play, but it will just make life easier for black here, because everything has been traded. So Grischuk took the bishop on c4, and only move is to take it back with the pawn, and you do this, take and take and take here, and then I think eventually the knight will take here, and then we'll see this type of position. And although you will try to play this position, it's yeah, black will be able to control everything, but yeah, you can try actually. Let's say what to do in this position here. Let's say queen b2, attacking this. What do we do here? Probably just queen e6 then. There's always something to protect the pawns. So the game went, okay, knight e7, king h8 already. Grischuk is yet to take the c8 rook. What else could he be thinking? Probably he's thinking to take this. Takes, and then queen f5 like this. But even if this happens, there's always rook c6, for example. Like takes, and I think everything should be under control. What else apart from rook c6? King g7 doesn't look enticing. If queen e6, you have to takes, and then probably takes here. Takes, and then rook here, but it should be drawn too. Like just here maybe. Like this, and then probably this one, yeah. Takes. If this one, then maybe a4, and then after this, then this is drawn. Okay, king h8. You can delay taking on c8 by playing bishop f6. What else can you do? Could he be thinking about rook c1? But after rook c1, queen goes here. If you take, I'll take like this, and if you take, then I'll take, and this. So white doesn't win anything. Okay, Grischuk is still thinking, apparently. What else? I just don't understand if there's any other move apart from the idea taking the rook on c8. Okay, so let's see also. Oh, he took already. Knight takes c8. Yeah, I was very confident that this might be Grischuk's first win in this tournament, but after this, after knight takes c8, okay, first of all, Parham has to take it with the queen. What's wrong with the rook? Because looks like it is equally good. Let's see what's happening. So bishop f6, bishop f6, and queen, rook d6, not queen f5, rook d6, attacking this like that. Yeah, so probably if there is a rook endgame, then white is better here, because the rook can stop on a6. So let's say it here. Yeah, rook a6, rook c7. Yeah, this is a better endgame for white because the rook is more active. But Parham is still thinking queen c8 will be just enough to kind of equalize the position. What about Rapport versus Fided here? Oh, okay. So after c6, e5 was played, and nice answer by Fided. He didn't take the pawn on d5 on e5, but he played d5 instead, because after e takes f6, Bishop will take f6 first, the queen has to move, and now you take the bishop. And I think in this position, the king is pretty safe thanks to this bishop. And since this bishop is already gone, and not to mention that black is currently up a pawn, I think faded is better. Though it might be a bit too early to say that he might win this position because yeah, because well, it's still quite a long time to go. Let's also take a look at, actually Fidit hasn't won any game yet, right? I think it's almost like the same like Grishchuk and others, he only made draws. Okay, so he had 4 draws and 1 loss. Okay, yeah, not the best performance, but he can always try to make it up in the last 4 rounds. So d5 is still on the board now, and Rapport is still thinking. The thing is, I think you have to play your bishop. Let's say you play to d3, which looks very normal. And now any move with the knight is actually looking good. Knight e4 looks good to me. Knight g4 as well. Even knight h7 is also fine. Yeah, I don't see why not. Even knight e, oh no, not knight e8, sorry, because the queen is hanging. Yeah, so let's say knight e4 just to be forward. If takes, then rook takes, and you cannot take this. Technically you can, but why doing this? Yeah, bishop b6 is coming, and yeah, bishop d3 is on the board. But maybe maybe it's better to play knight h7 anyway, just to keep control over everything, and not to, I mean, you're wishing the queen will be exchanged like this because this endgame will be better for black, and maybe the knight will be rerouted to f8 and e6. Yeah, maybe as h7 is the better square for the knight. Knight d7, I'm worried there might be e6 here because the queen is now protected. Yeah, you cannot take this because of this pawn, but if you take this, first of all I can take this one first, and then having this position is unpleasant because this pawn is hanging. Okay, so now I think we can only play knight h7. You have to stop e6 at all cost. So suppose that white doesn't want to trade the queen and white plays queen f4. How to continue this position? Oh, isn't it just, no. I thought we can play g5, but there's a check first like this. Oh, this is actually very important to play bishop d3. Because otherwise the queen might be trapped. Although white can always try to trade the queens, yeah? And this one is just losing after this. So, okay, bishop d3, knight h7 then. Oh, they already shook hands? Oh, I missed it. I think after bishop d3, there was a draw offer by Rapport and was accepted by Fidit. Just try not to spend more energy and time, perhaps. That could be it. Okay, so we have 3 draws in the master section then. Three draws in the master section, so 2 left, Yu Yangyi versus Abdusattorov and Grishchuk versus Parham. Let's come back to the Yu Yangyi game, and we saw this position, and white is able to consolidate everything. Yeah, we analyzed actually exactly this position. So king e2, knight c e5, takes everything like this, and then f3 and take this one, and bishop c5. And here the computer suggested, if I'm not mistaken, it was queen c6. Yeah, just queen c6, tying the queen down to e6 like this. And yeah, looking like everything is back to normal again. suddenly everything is safe. Yeah, after queen c6, I think we saw the position of the takes, and you cannot really do this. The king will go to d3, and after this the king will go to c4. So this is such a nice spot for the king. Not only that it is safe, but potentially in the endgame it is also already in the ready position to attack the pawn chain on c7. So bishop c5, and then yeah, now Yang Yi is still thinking. Apart from queen c6, I don't think white is limited to only one option in this one. I think white can also play other things too, but apart from that, what can we do? I like my rooks to be connected like this, so I don't think I will move it. Should I be worried about this pawn now? Because if you play queen c6 takes here and then take this g2 pawn, I can give a check first, and wherever the king, oh, the king has to go here actually because this one is hanging. What do I do here? I can, oh, this is hanging, so gotta be careful with that. Let's say rook f1. I think we have to play rook f1. Yeah, and the king is pretty safe. If there's a check here, I think you can just come back here. And if there's any check like this, rook f2 is there. To be honest, I don't know who is attacking who here, because it looks like white is just getting better. Rook d7 is coming. Any trade is good. So this is still the current position right now, and Yang is still thinking what to do in this position. Let me have a sip. Alright, so let's move on and see if there are any. Oh, this is worse, yeah. And we saw this position after knight takes c8, rook takes c8. The coach suggested to take it with the queen, but he took with the rook, bishop f6, gf6, and here the computer suggested rook d6 and have a better endgame in the rook endgame. Better position in the rook endgame, because at some point I think black is forced to exchange the queens, but when is the right time to do it? Okay, so because the thing is, if you play this one now, there's queen f5 attacking f6, and the only place to stop it is queen c3, but it doesn't really stop it because it's just going to lose material like this, or even can actually give a check first, probably. Or I don't know, it looks like it's pretty loose. Even like this, takes here, probably check here, takes, yeah. This doesn't look good. So after rook d6, if king g7, yeah, what do we do here? I still like queen f5, and if queen c3, actually in this position maybe I'll just play h4 so that the king can have some space on h2 like that. Yeah, I don't have to take this one immediately. I can try to improve my king first, and then once everything is solid, then I can start my tactics. Yeah, maybe that's it. And this position is always harder to play when the queens are on the board. But if the queens are off the board after rook d6, and then this might happen, and after this king here and then rook here, and then this is a better endgame for white. And you might actually play king here maybe, or here, just because the king is always tied to this, the rook always tied to this. Yeah, it's very important to have an active rook whenever you are entering the rook endgame. Grishuk is down to 10 minutes. He still has to make another 15 moves to make to the time control to get an additional 30 minutes. Do we have updates on Yang Yi's game? So apparently after bishop c5, he just played king d2. Now he changes things, right? What happened after takes? I think you have to take it with the king. Oh no. Can you? Yeah. Now he changes things because now after takes this one is hanging. You don't have you don't have means to capture the pawn and then later on protecting this at the same time. No, king d2 is the wrong move because you need some counter attack toward this pawn. So whenever g2 was taken, you also take on e6. Yeah, it just takes this, I guess. And if you take with the rook, this might even be worse actually. I think just takes this, just grab all the pawns along the way. And if king goes here, first of all you can play queen g5, and if rook goes here, you can keep grabbing the pawns, or even, hang on, is this just lost in spot, like check here maybe? It should be something like that. No, wow, you just make a mistake. Yeah, king d2 is not the best move on the board, but yeah, bishop c5 looks very natural to make anyway, because you just also want to grab as many materials as you can get. Okay, so still no move yet from Abdusattorov. And oh, Grishuk already made his move. And what did he do? He played rook d6. Yeah, it doesn't really change anything after queen c3. I think white can also still play queen f5 and attacking the f6 pawn. Although, wait, there's rook c6 then. Oh no, there is this check, and it's just walking into a mate here and then checkmate. So the rook on c8 cannot leave the back rank. Okay, hang on. Okay, still no move yet, and Abdusattorov is also still thinking apparently, but he bishop e3, queen takes g2. What is he waiting for? Might he be thinking about queen g5 as well, so that to meet rook d8 next? Oh, he did it. Queen g5 is on the board. Yeah, this might be just actually the best move. I just realized that why do I care about this pawn, because you can always take this pawn at some point. So queen e2 is now on the board. Yeah, Yang is trying to play a bit faster now. He's down to 11 minutes and he still has so many moves to make. But this endgame, isn't it just better? Let's say it takes, and then you have to take. Rook d8. Where does the king go? Yeah, let's say king goes here. You take the rook. And this happens, and then this is just wins, right? This is just winning on the spot. Okay, queen e2. I think it's forced to play queen e2 anyway, but the continuation is just easier now for Abdusattorov, because the rook endgame with extra pawn and also the pawn on h6 is not only extra, but it is also a pass pawn, an outside pass pawn even. It's making the endgame even harder for Yang Yi. Wow! So I guess we're going to see two leaders coming tomorrow. And what just happened? Yeah, rook d8 was on the board. I don't know whether rook d8 first, or I think it doesn't really matter. So king c2, of course you don't want to put the king on c1, and then this one is still going to be pinned. So king c2 is now on the board, so you take d1 first. I think the only hope is to take it with the knight like this, but after queen takes here, yeah, white is struggling too. Actually, keeping the bishop might be the best idea, because imagine this position happens, and then all you can do right now is just pushing the pawn, and then bishop is going to control this square, and this is actually a very important square. So rook d1, you cannot take it with the rook because of this, you cannot take it with the queen because of this as well. So, and you can actually take with the king, but it doesn't really change anything with the king, and we'll see this endgame. And this is going to attack this one as well, but this probably the outcome that you should play, because the other one looks like it's just lost. So king c1, let's say, with the idea of rook d3 and then try to be active, but I don't think it changes anything. You just push this pawn and push this pawn. You don't have to be afraid of getting this one, because yeah, this will come very soon to the promotion square. Yeah, I think Abdusattorov already feels it, that he's gonna win this round against Yang Yi. Okay, so this one is almost clear that Yang Yi will lose, I would say. I don't think Abdusattorov will give any chance to Yang Yi, because the game is getting easier now for him compared to a few moves ago. Yeah, I think the fatal mistake that Yang Yi did is to play king e2. King d2. After bishop c5 here, he has to play queen c6. I think this is almost forced. Although if rook d3, this might be actually even better. Although after this, there is this one, and probably check. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Takes here and then here, but still, this might be better. Okay, so rook d1 is still on the board. This is the current position. So entering round 7 tomorrow, Abdusattorov will be leading with Yakuboev, and tomorrow Yakuboev will be playing against Sindarov. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the winner eventually after the 9th round later will be one of these young Uzbek players, because they have like really good performance. 3 of them, they're not giving chances to their opponents, and then whenever they're winning, they just seize the day. But also, I think it helps being younger player, because you also have more energy and you have more ambition to motivate you throughout the event. And what just happened, Yang took it with the knight here. So I think we're gonna see very soon queen takes g2. And yes, no, Abdusattorov just played it. Queen takes g2 and takes and takes. Okay, then this is an easier endgame for Abdusattorov. Where does the king go? I think, king goes to d3. So probably, what does the king doing? So what about just h5 here, and then just keep pushing the pawn? The bishop here is so strong. Yeah, but you gotta be patient, yeah. And also Abdusattorov has enough time on the clock. He has to make sure that everything is according to his plan. King d3, what does the king do? Does it want to play rook e2? So let's say h5, rook e2. I don't want to trade, I'll play here. And where does the knight go? Maybe here. And after this, then knight g4, yeah? Yeah, so gotta be careful with that. And somehow this one is stopped. Although there's a funny line like this, if h3 and then you see, okay, everything is under control, looks like it. Of course, rook h2 is the best move. And let's say you want to improve your king and then try to attack this pawn. There might be just this attack, takes this, and then bishop here. And suddenly this one is unstoppable. And you have to sacrifice your rook in the end. So there's some move there. We'll be able to see the move soon. What happened? So king g7. So according to the chess principle in the endgame, bring the king. And this is what Abdusattorov is doing. Yeah, I don't think the king the king has to be involved in the game then. Like this, and push. So yeah, it's a technical winning position for Abdusattorov. While on the other board, Gukesh versus Parham. After rook d6, Parham still hasn't moved yet. Yeah, this is a tough moment now, because I think in the end he realized that he has to suffer in the rook endgame. Although it is a suffering for sure, but the computer evaluation was just 0.2 for white. And what about, there's some move on the game between Yang versus Abdusattorov. What happened? So after king g7, rook h1, trying to stop this pawn from moving. Yeah, but is it really stopping it? Because now after king g6, the thing is the knight cannot really move now. Because of this pawn. Yeah, king g6 happens. So yeah, king g6, just slowly push the pawn like this, king g5 and push it again. Yeah, something like that. So king g6 is already on the board. Okay. Parham is still thinking what happens to Pertke versus Yilmaz Mustafa. Looks like it's still pretty equal, black has the compensation, but white is slightly better. Yeah, because the pieces are more active. So this is still going on right now, and Suleimanli Aydin versus Romanov. Suleimanli was having a better position before, but apparently now the advantage has been decreased, but he still is slightly better. Donchenko, Injic versus Donchenko. Wow, what's going on? So white is better right now, and the pawn from d3 now went to c2. But this pawn is pretty weak, yeah? I think it's at some point later it's gonna be taken. Maybe knight here and takes this, and now what to do? Okay, knight b6 is already on the board. Okay, the computer suggested g3, but I think g3, because after knight takes, this one is under attack, so you're preparing to take on this one anyway. I understand. And if the pawn takes b4, you take it back and the bishop is under attack. Okay, let's move back to the top board. Youngi versus Abdusattorov. After king g6, b4 was played. I think it's quite a desperado move, because after this, let's say you take. I think the idea is to activate the knight, but after this, knight here, rook here, yeah, and then knight g4. Oh, knight g4, rook f3, I guess. Yeah, like rook f3 here, and then king here, and then just go. So b4 is already on the board, but the best move in this position is apparently rook g1, not taking b4, and to force this position. And now you have to take this, let's say it takes, let's say king here, and now just king here, and then and king here. But yeah, I agree with Abdusattorov actually. Sometimes this type of endgame is better, or it's easier to play when the rooks are on the board. So he took the pawn on b4, cb4, bishop b4, and knight e3. So this is the current position right now. And where does the rook go? Rook here looks tempting. You just want to grab another pawn. Although after rook here, there might be king e2. And since the knight is about to go to g4, I think it's time to play h5. And it looks like the rook might get trapped, but the rook can always go to g5. And this bishop is controlling all the important dark squares. So another technical win for Abdusattorov. Yeah, so let's just stay on this one for a bit, because the game between Gukesh versus Parham, Maksudlu, Parham still hasn't moved yet. Yeah, so wow, Parham actually is losing his time advantage. So let's see it again. If king g7, queen f5 here, queen c3, queen g4 check. All right, if king h8, then just take f6. But if king here, king g2. Yeah, eventually there might be some tactic, and I think he's really trying to make it work to exchange the queens like this, and then hoping that this endgame is not losing. The computer can always find all the moves, of course, but it's really hard as a human to figure this out on the board. Like, you would think you might actually force to play like this, but only white can win this position. But of course, with accurate play, black is able to hold it. But again, it's easier to mess it up as black. And as for white will just play all the natural looking move. It is good enough. But as for black has to be really precise not to lose on the spot. So a move like g4 to stop this type of move, and then if king here, then maybe h5. even h3, and you just play some slow move. Eventually, if you just stuck with the rook on the 7th rank like this, there's no improvement can be made. Only white is trying to improve on the king side. And let's say rook d7 here, and then a4, even, yeah, looks pretty good. What will Parham choose in this position? Still no move yet, so let's go back to the top board. And I think also Abdusattorov is still thinking. Although rook g3 is tempting, but he might also think of putting the rook on the other side of the board, because it's not really clear on how to continue if the rook is still on the king side. But if the rook is on the queen side, you actually know what to do next. So you just grab this, push all these pawns, and then try to promote. But of course, he's calculating right now what happened after knight g4, because it is attacking both the pawns on e5 and h6. Apparently here, after rook a3, if king here, bishop here, you have to stop this one. And after knight takes, king went here, and after another check, king g7, and king here, for example. Oh, and then you just take this one. Oh, it actually, sorry, it actually happened, yeah? What is the move here? Oh, actually rook d2. He gave a check to d2, and after king c4, now what to do? He might actually go bishop f8, and after knight g4, bishop g7. It's a bit too passive there. What will he be choosing in this position? Parham already played, so he played king g7 after all, and I think he decided that the rook endgame is lost or very unpleasant, and maybe he thinks that the best chance is to keep the queen on the board and try this position. But yeah, we've analyzed this one before. Even a move like h4, I think it's pretty good now. Oh, there's rook c4 stopping it. I see. So it is very important to give a check first then. And after king here, now you can play king g2 to prevent all the check on the back rank. And if the rook steps away, now you play queen d7. Yeah, this is still unpleasant position, but Parham can actually hope for his queen activity to give or to threat some perpetual around the white's king. So this is still the last position. Yeah, Gukesh has to find queen g4 if he wants to maintain a better position. Still no move yet, and Gukesh is now down to 7 minutes. But fortunately, the position is pretty simple. Almost there's no risk in white's position, so I'm very confident that he would be able to make the time control rather smoothly. So let's go back to Yumi versus Abdusattorov, because apparently there's some moves there. So after rook d2, king c4, rook d4 check, and king went to b5, and here bishop d2. I think it's a clever move by Abdusattorov, because in doing this, okay, first of all, after knight here, he can actually give a check first so that the king moves. Let's say the king moves to c6, and the bishop can protect everything from this square. Although, hang on, after taking this, takes this and takes this. Do we want this position? Although it's still winning there. And after rook this, then you can get this pawn, yeah? Because when the rook moves, then it's time to also move this pawn. And the knight might actually get trapped. Let's say rook goes here. Looks ugly, but you have this h5. And after this rook, there's bishop. After the knight f2, there's bishop e3. And if the knight went here, okay, the only place to go is this one. You can stop it like this, and then you play this. Yeah. Anything looks good for black in this position. But if the knight went elsewhere, knight c4. If knight c4, there is c6. And you are losing the knight actually. Because the king has to take one of the pawns, and then rook takes c4. Where else the knight can go? Knight c2. If knight c2, then you don't have any more attack, yeah? And you can just play, you can play rook d6, and then you're enjoying all the activity. But here after bishop d2, rook g1 first is what happened. But in this position, I think you can play king f7. King f7, and again after knight this, you can always put it back to f4, and everything is under control. Okay, moment of truth. Which one that Abdusattorov will play? And yeah, he played king f7 followed by knight g4, and I think we're going to see bishop f4 soon. While on the other board, there's some moves. Oh, I hate it. Gukesh played my move. h4 is a bad move actually. Yeah, but Parham has to find rook c4 to stop queen g4. I think he will find it anyway. Yeah, it is very important for Gukesh right now to play queen g4 first, because it will not allow rook c4 to happen. And actually after this, if king here, then you can play here, because after this one, you can actually play many things here. There's, for example, there's no more check, yeah, along this diagonal, so the queen can attack any of the pawns. Let's say the queen attacks this one, and if you move it back like this, then check, and then here, and probably just rook d8 or something, and should be enough to win. Or even like check here, and then put it like this, because this queen is attacking the rook as well. Yeah, h4, will Parham find rook c4 and then equalize the position, because there is no more idea around the pawns anymore, because black also has its own idea, because the back rank of white is not 100% safe. See, this is still the current position right now, and 9 more minutes for Parham for the next 13 moves. I think rook c4 should be coming. Yeah, should be coming rather naturally. Norderberg is still thinking after knight g4. What doesn't he like after bishop f4 actually? Probably rook c... no, rook c1 cannot happen. Yeah, what doesn't he like after this? Or could it be thinking about rook b4 first? No, I don't think so. But he just did it. Bishop f4, and then now rook went back to h1, attacking the h6 pawn. And if the king tries to protect the pawn, then there might be rook g1 again, trying to threatening the discovery like that. So maybe at some point we just have to let it go. But what can we do? So if this one, actually this position you can actually take with the rook, because if you take this one, then there is this check, and then you take this rook on d3. So rook d3, you can take this with the rook, and after this you give a check like that, and then take the c7 pawn. And not too sure how we feel about it, because also knight is kind of trapped. Let's say this position happens and then you give a check first. Yeah, the knight is kind of trapped, so black is probably better still, but it's giving some chances for white. So what do we do here? If we brave ourselves and play this one, rook g1, probably playing slowly like this, although I'm a bit worried there might be some matting net. Check here. So probably there's no matting net then. If check here, oh, this one is hanging. So okay, so king h5 doesn't really work then. Okay, what else? Oh, what about putting the king on h7? So king here is fine. Oh, but not immediately, because if you play king h7 right now, you're walking into mate in 2, like this. Okay, what else can we do here? 2 moves away to get the additional 30 minutes. He wants something here. King g6 is already on the board. Probably he's just trying to gain time until the move 40, and after this I can just come back to f7 again and then think longer. Yeah, rook g1 I already just played. Yeah, it's very important not to make a committal decision on move 40. So better just waste the tempo like that and then think longer on move 41, so that you can come up with a better plan and you'll have more time on the clock too. Let's take a look what Parham is doing against Grischuk. Oh, he didn't do the best move. So after h4, he played rook e8, which is wrong, I guess. I think he has to give a check now. Grischuk has to make it, because he missed it before. But king g2 I think is better as well, because at least now the rook cannot go to e4 anyway, because queen just takes. So king g2, everything is pretty safe for Grischuk. And now it's just the time for him to actually, can we just improve this one first, and after that we'll do the tactics, anything to do with these 2 pawns. Yeah, things are not looking great for Parham right now. What is actually the evaluation of this position? Only 0.2 for Grischuk. So queen e5, queen e5 check, king h7, and what else? If this one, let's say, oh sorry, the rook is hanging. The rook is hanging, so rook has to go, or the, oh, this is interesting, queen c4. If you take the rook, takes this one and takes this one with the check. So king g7 again, and queen g4 again. Yeah, and then king here, things like that. Alright, so queen g4 is already on the board right now. Oh, Parham played queen e5, and queen g4, and then king h7. Yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised if they settle with the repetition and agree to make a draw. Queen g4 here on the board. Actually, still Parham is still thinking where to move the king. h7 looks very natural. Trying to also protect the pawn on h6, but I don't think king f8 or king h6 are bad. I think they're fine too. Am I wrong? Yeah, they're fine too. I mean, you're not losing on the spot, but maybe not king h. It's still fine. Turns out it's still fine. Actually, any king move in this position after queen g4, it's still fine for black. And I think the first board already entered the time control. What did Abdusattorov do? After the last rook g1, he just sacrificed the e5 pawn by playing h5, and knight takes e5 and king f6 now. So where does the knight go? It can only go here. No, go here is c6. It can go here. It can go here. So which one will you choose? Knight g6 or knight c6? If knight g6, I think just bishop e3. And the knight is kind of paralyzed. It doesn't have places to go. And the rook, now okay, now the rook is under attack. Where should we go? Here maybe. And even this position is just winning, I guess. Oops, not like that, sorry, mouse slip. Takes, and then you just focus on promoting this pawn. Alright, the knight will go here, but then you can go here, and then h4 like that. If the knight went to c6, where does the rook go? Maybe here. And attacking this pawn. Yeah, so I think either way it's just winning for Abdusattorov anyway. What is the computer saying about this? Knight c6 is the better option. Rook d3, okay, trying to create some counter attack by playing rook g8, and after rook f3, e5, and here king f7, rook h8, rook h3, something like that, still maintaining +3 position for Abdusattorov. Let's also jump back to Grishchuk versus Parham. So he chose king f8 after all. King f8, and then rook a6. Isn't this just... yeah, rook e7 is enough, yeah? Rook e7 is enough, because after queen here, I think king goes h2. Oh, queen f3, right. Black shouldn't go into the rook endgame, because rook endgame is just worse. And after queen f3, yeah, the rook is attacking both the pawns. So if you take this, then white wins. So after rook a6 is just protect it. I think Parham will find this anyway, and then he did it, yeah. He did this already. Rook e7 is on the board. White is still slightly better, but I'm very confident that the game will end with a draw. Let's come back to Abdusattorov's game. So knight c6 was chosen. We see the position of the rook d3. So it's gonna take a while until Abdusattorov wins this one. I guess Yang will also fight his best not to lose anything. But yeah, the position is already winning for Abdusattorov anyway. And rook d3 was indeed what Abdusattorov played in this game. And okay, if Yuangi want to create some counter-attack, he has to develop the rook then from behind to g8 and h8. But it means it's still winning for Abdusattorov anyway. Unfortunately, bishop is very strong here. Even if white tries to make some attack on the c7, yeah, it doesn't really have any other counter idea. The only thing that white can try to do here is somehow to stop the h-pawn. It is unstoppable, but white can try to delay it. Let's see, Grishchuk versus Parham, what happens there? Rook e7 was played, queen f3, attacking f6, but now king g7, and rook a4. Yeah, gotta be careful with this because there might be check here, queen here, and I don't know, some mating attack on the g8 square. So what do we do in this position then? Is it time to push f5? Or is it just weakening? Let's say f5 to stop any checks as well. And rook f4. Yeah, maybe it's not the best approach here. Because if this one then check like this, although... Yeah, this is not the best approach, of course. There's also g4. So f5 is just too ambitious. It shouldn't be the best move in this position. But what else can we play? What about stepping away with the king? He played queen e6. Okay, to stop queen g4. And if you want to check, it's only rook g4. Actually, you don't really stop it, but after queen here, I can just play king here, yeah? And allowing this to happen. This is a better endgame for Parham because the pawns are not doubled anymore. So if this one check, and because if you take this, takes this, I think we'll see the same story like this, and the rook will be over here. So rook g4 is already played, and now what to do? Where does the king go? I think the king just able to do anywhere, but maybe it's better to play king h7 so that this pawn is kind of protected. Where did he go with the king? We'll have to move soon. King h7 is already played, and this is the current position right now. No move yet from Parham, from Grishchuk. 2 minutes left, and he has to make 6 more moves. Yeah, obviously, if Grishchuk is satisfied with the draw, it's not really hard to make it. But yeah, he might actually still look for any chances to win the game. So rook f6 is on the board, rook f4. Probably it's time for the king to step back to g7. And I think we'll see the move soon. Yeah, king g7. Will he try to repeat again just to gain more time? Maybe. Or maybe he's going to use the time to also play a4 here. But if a4 is played, then it is also possible for black to try to exchange the queens, because the idea of rook a6 is no longer available. But this is still the current position, and we'll see what will Grishchuk play in this one. Yeah, he's about to reach something. And after that move, yeah, I'd like to also go back to the Youngi's game because I think it's approaching its end. A3 was played, okay, very not ambitious. So I think we can safely leave it for a bit. And then let's take a look at the Youngi versus Abdusattorov. After rook g1, okay, so I think knight c6 was the last move. And rook d3, and here Youngi decided to play rook h1. Yeah, I think we have to save this pawn, yeah? Let's say we play this, but there's this check. Can we actually save it? I don't think so. Yeah, because there's always this type of checks and then you cannot really go here because the pawn is lost, so you have to come back. So king g5 doesn't really help the position unless maybe you put the king on h6. Like in this position and then king h6, maybe. Yeah, because if you allow h4, then bishop will go here, and then the king will also come forward, and this one is lost. Actually, this is actually not a bad idea. Yeah, maybe it is it. This is it, like just king g5, and if check, and then king h6. And then if this comes again, then at least now you're grabbing this pawn. Yeah, still no move yet from Abdusattorov. And Grishchuk is down to 26 seconds. Rook d7, so Parham has been just doing some waiting move here. Grishchuk still has to make 4 moves. 12 seconds to go. And finally he played rook g4. I think we'll see king h7 soon. Yep. And now he moved it back to f4. Looks like it is a repetition, but maybe it's just a way to gain time. And now when his time is back to a minute, he might do different thing. Maybe king here even, like king h2. Yeah, just try to gain time. Alright, 40 seconds to go for Grishchuk. 2 more moves to make. What did he do? He just moved something. Or maybe he hasn't moved anything. 10 seconds. Okay, Grishchuk, don't fall. What happened? Rook f5? Did he just play rook f5? Oh, rook f6. Wait. So Parham missed this tactic. If queen takes, queen here, check here, but this should be still drawn, yeah? Oh, no, not like that. Queen here. This is different. Takes and then queen check. And after this, it should still be draw, but it's a pawn up now, so okay, so Parham just totally missed the tactic, because if he wants to activate the rook in this position, yeah, in this position, if he wants to activate the rook, then he can do so by playing rook c7, not to allow any idea with the queen like this. Actually, what does the computer say in this position? Yeah, rook c7. Although rook d7 is fine as well. Let's see, rook d7, then rook g4. Okay, some checks first, and then rook takes f6. Queen takes f6. Queen g4, queen g6, takes here, queen e4. And then king h2. Oh, here you just play a5. Yeah, it should still be drawn. So we see the position of the queen e4 anyway. This is already on the board. And they already entered move 41, so they get an additional 30 minutes. I think king h2 was played, and now it's Parham's turn to move. Okay, so it's no longer critical. Let's go back to Yangi versus Abdusattorov. Yeah, they will gain the time once the clock hits 0. Oh, so after rook h1 he took f3. Still winning, but I would actually think that this happens. If check here, then king. Can I go king here? Ah, of course, there's this counter attack with this, and there might be like perpetual. So Abdusattorov took the pawn on f3, rook takes h5, and rook e3, trying to get this pawn again. Alright, just curious what happened in the challenger. Looks drawish, although white is up a pawn, so there's still some chances. And the game between Injic versus Tochenko, I think white is winning here because of this pawn, although it's still quite a long time to finish. And in the game between this one, Madamidov versus Bekmuratov, looks very similar, and this should be just drawn. Although, oh no, this is not drawn. The knight is trapped. Because, yeah, the knight is trapped. Okay. I guess this is already over then. There's no way to save it. Okay. So we can come back to the first board again then. And after rook e3 here, Yang is still thinking. Because this pawn cannot be saved, you can push it here, but can I take it actually? You cannot take it because why? Rook h6, king f7, and knight here. And after this, knight takes this. Okay, yeah, you need this pawn actually. You need the pawn on the center because the other pawn might be stopped. So e5, if e5 happens, then just simply king g6 before you take e5. Yeah, so the rook has to go. Let's say the rook goes to h1, then you take e5 without any worries. Knight d8, and then bishop d6, and then yeah, you are up 2 pawns, and you're just going to promote this one. If knight b7, yeah, you just put it here, not to exchange anything. Okay, so the game is closing to an end then. What about Grishchuk versus Parham? Yeah, the last time I played a Queen's Endgame with 1 pawn less, it was in Bill last year, and I managed to finish the game in 8 hours. So Queen's Endgame is the worst. It can take so much time, like for 3 hours we were pretty much playing the same position. But of course not repeating the moves or anything, and the last 3 hours of the position actually of the game. So, and especially with 1 pawn extra, your opponent would think that he has to keep pushing to win the game, but unfortunately there's always an answer that black can pull. So that's why I think, especially in this position, it should be just drawn. After a5, you will not be able to take this pawn, or even if you would, this pawn will be hanging, or there might be some checks around the king. So, and the thing is also, there's no escaping for the king as well. Even if you keep pushing the pawns like this, the king will be left vulnerable to the perpetual checks. So in the long run, if I can give my prediction, this is just going to be drawn. I don't know how much time it's going to take for both of them to finish the game. Probably Grishchuk would still keep pushing and hoping that Parham would make a mistake and blunders things and he can win. But if both players just play normally, this will just end up as a draw. And a4 was played, and yeah, as long as the queen protects this one or also attacks this one, one thing for sure, black shouldn't trade the queens, that's all. Black should keep the queen on the board. Queen c4 is there. I think queen e5 is even, it's also fine, just centralize everything. I think even queen here is also fine. Yeah, so every single move like that maintains point 2 position for white, slightly better for white still, just because white is an extra pawn. Yang versus Abdusattorov. So Yang is still thinking. Yeah, but I think it's already very close to the end. Even if he didn't play e5, it would still be losing because of this pawn. If he plays e5, also the pawn on e5 will be losing. So not many good options for Yu Yang in this position. So e5 is already on the board, but I think we can also wait until Abdusattorov plays king g6. Okay, closing to win, and tomorrow Yakuboev and Abdusattorov will lead the master section. Yeah, okay, king g6 already played, and soon the pawn on e5 will be lost, and I think that's a sign for me to wrap things up, because there's almost nothing else to see in this position. It's just going to be the finishing by Abdusattorov. I don't know whether Yang will keep playing until the end, or he might be resigning at some point, because it doesn't matter where the rook go right now. Bishop takes e5, and there's almost nothing else on the board for Yang. And what's happening in the game between Grischuk and Parham? I think still no move yet. Yeah, queen b4. There will be lots of checks and then lots of other stuff as well. But yeah, it's still going to be quite equalish. And let's go back to here. Rook h1 was already played. Now, yeah, I think Abdusattorov will take the pawn anyway. There is no risk in this position. And after this, let's say give a check, king goes here, bishop will go to f4, and then just push the pawn like that. 2 pawns up. It's better for Yang to actually save his energy for tomorrow's game, because after bishop e5, there's, yeah, 2 pawns down, and well, Abdusattorov will just likely to win in the next 3 moves. But what else can he be thinking in this position? Oh, there is also rook c3. If you don't want to take it immediately, there is also rook c3 here. But oh, rook f1. This is not easy to see. Check and king a6, and the game is back to equal. Okay, don't play rook c3 then. Just take e5. That's the simplest and easiest way to proceed. Because if this happens, okay, takes here, the king cannot come crossing the f-file, and the king is about to go to b7. And if you play this, there is rook f6, and then takes this on the next move. So rook h1, yeah, don't go too fancy, but just take e5. It should be enough. And he's reaching it. He's reaching it. I can see it from the live feed. Yeah, bishop takes e5. That's it. Bishop takes e5 is already on the board. Yeah, what else to play in this position if you want to keep going? A5, this is what the computer suggested. B takes a5, and then knight takes a5. Yeah, with 2 pawns like this. Bishop f4, king here, rook e4, king d3. And rook a4, and after knight c4, just e5. Eventually, Abdusattorov will make the pawns work, and yeah, the bishop is better in this position. I'll just see if other games are still going on the challenger, because in the master section only this one and Parham's game are still on with the Queen's Endgame, but that Queen's Endgame is drawn. Okay, let's see what happened in the Parham's game. Yeah, so after queen b4, queen c6, queen d4 again, and king g1. Yeah, they probably just give a check here on d1, and after king went again, queen d4 again. So there wouldn't be any improvement. Yep, and queen d1 is already played. King h2, and he moved it back to d4. So apparently Yang already played a move. What did he do? He played f5. So this is the best defense in the position. Okay, even though black is already up 2 pawns. So this might go like this and like this. And yeah, rook e4 here or anything else. So it should be fine. Gukesh already played something. Queen b5. Yeah, but this is only gives a check, right? Even queen c3 is fine too. Give a check. If king goes here, check again. If king goes here, then queen d4 again. It's always an idea to attack the f2 pawn. But this is still the current position. Yeah, and we see a check there, queen e4. The thing is, after f3, you just go here, and should be also another draw. Oh, queen f1, yeah. Queen c1, queen c8, and this happens, then queen c3 even. Yeah, I like queen c3. There's always some place for the queen, for the black queen to go to attack either this or that, and yeah, but this is still the current position right now. In the other game, Abdusattorov just took the pawn on a5, knight takes f5. But I think I have to wrap things up right now, and yeah, so my prediction is this is a technical win for Abdusattorov anyway. I don't think he's going to let this slip away, and I think he will continue on winning the game and sharing the lead tomorrow with Yakuboev. And also on the other game that is still going on between Grishchuk versus Maxulu Parham, it's gonna be a draw. So today is round 6, and we are approaching the end of the event. Tomorrow is round 7, and things are just going to be heating up. Everything is going to be very intense because the victory is always at stake. So thanks again for watching, and yeah, thanks also for all the chess community who is very patient in dealing with any of the broadcast error or something like that. Hopefully tomorrow will be pretty smooth for our stream and there shouldn't be any errors. So yeah, thanks again for watching. It is almost 9 in Indonesia right now, so see you again tomorrow. Have a good evening.